everyone, welcome back to I Married a Film Snob, where we review films of today and yesteryear. Now on Christmas Day, we went to the movies. The theater was packed as everyone was lined up to see the awe-inspiring, action-packed, uplifting, colorfully vivid world of Avatar: The Way of Water. This review is about the most diametrically opposed film compared to Avatar. We decided to go to the empty corner of the theater, only to be joined by one other brave viewer in the entire screening room, to go see the gut-wrenching and achingly depressing The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky and starring Brendan Fraser. Stay tuned until the end to see our ratings, and as always, leave your comments down below.
Here we go, let's do it.
The Whale is about a morbidly obese and barely mobile online English teacher named Charlie, played by Brendan Fraser, and his struggle to reconcile his past failures, while simultaneously trying to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter. The movie is based on a play, and it very much feels that way. In the cinematic choices Aronofsky has picked, and that's not a bad thing actually, because it fits the subject matter very well.
The muted color tones of the cinematography emphasize the dreary reality of the characters as they cling to a miserable daily existence. And the set design reflects a banal and mundane world that justly counterpoints the main character's state of mind. Now, I do tend to have a secret affinity for these kind of harsh and emotionally crushing films.
Oh yeah.
And I do admire when filmmakers confront psychologically taxing subject matters and develop characters that go against the grain of convention and easy familiarity. Mm-hmm. Now, Aronofsky is no stranger to gut punch movies that leave you amazed and simultaneously gasping for air and a sense of levity. From Pi to Requiem for a Dream to Black Swan to The Wrestler to Mother, it is clear that Aronofsky also has a tendency to be drawn towards heavily flawed characters and bleak circumstances.
Very true. Now with The Whale, Aronofsky retreads some of the larger subjects he analyzed in his previous films, most specifically in Black Swan and The Wrestler, in exploring how punishing the body is a means of emotional catharsis, and the physical but also emotional toll this corporal punishment can have on important relationships. In this case, the protagonist is literally trying to eat himself to death, since all aspects of his life have come crumbling down, and food has become his only escape.
Yeah, in Black Swan, it's about a ballerina putting her body through the ringer to become the top position.
Yeah.
And
limiting her food, so the
yeah,
opposite.
that one. And in The Wrestler, it's about this kind of down and out on his luck wrestler who will punish his body to any means to satisfy his fans and his fans craving for more extreme violence. In this case, the character, his weight has become such a toll. Every little movement, you can tell he's suffering. Every little movement.
Oh my gosh, and you suffer there with him as you're watching it. It really is gut-wrenching in that you struggle as he's just trying to move across his living room.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just moving across like a couple feet from
the
one
kitchen.
room to the other. That's it. But it's like an agonizing thing, and his body's going through so much pain and torture in that. And I think again, Aronofsky's exploring that thing of body punishment and as a means of dealing with emotions yet again. This film is one that will push the viewing limits of most audiences. But if you stick to it and ride out the emotional storm it takes you through, it does provide a rewarding experience.
Definitely.
And it's all anchored by an amazing and brutally honest performance from Brendan Fraser. The claustrophobic feel of the movie can be a bit stifling, but it is a masterful way to show how the main character is emotionally and physically trapped in his apartment. Mm-hmm. So after a while, as the film progresses, we begin to get the same feeling of disconnect with the outside world as we continue to occupy Charlie's world.
Yeah. Most of the movie concentrates the story into a space of a couple of rooms, and that's it. And while cinematically this can be a bit drab, it's necessary to show this is Charlie's entire world. Limited not only by his physical immobility because of his massive weight, but also by a perceived fear of being psychologically hurt again, were he to interact with people outside.
Charlie's weight, but more so his emotional scars, have left him enclosed and shut off from most human interaction. And this is a harsh reality that's plaguing more and more people each day.
Yep.
Our installation is creating an offshoot of emotional disconnect and in turn, even a physical transformation.
The few human interactions Charlie does have are fraught with complex burdens. And while this movie is mostly a one-man show, the supporting cast all do their job very well. Sadie Sink plays Ellie, Charlie's estranged daughter, who does a decent job in her portrayal of an obnoxious and cruel teenager who seemingly knows it all and is already cynical and discontent even in her early years. Ty Simpkins plays Thomas, a troubled youth with a missionary calling, hoping to bring light into Charlie's life in the form of faith.
And lastly and best of all is Hung Chow playing Liz, once again providing a subdued but great supporting performance. In this case, playing Charlie's only friend, confidant, and also nurse,
Right.
who helps care for him in his debilitated state. Now, her character is well executed, but she sometimes comes off as a sounding board to fill in and clarify elements of the story that we're not privy to or have happened before the start of the film.
The movie starts with the cloak of anonymity that the internet can provide us. Charlie teaches an online English course, yet, in spite of his advice and confident teachings, his pen on the screen is the only one blacked out.
And this is the great symbolism of the movie. Charlie is a shell of a man, still present and articulate, but empty, just like the black screen that occupies his space.
Yeah.
Shame and insecurities become personified not by his grotesque physique, but by a black emptiness that looks into his deeper self.
Exactly. Ultimately, the movie is about forgiveness, especially a parent's willingness to forgive the many glaring faults and mistakes their child can make. Charlie is desperately trying to reconnect with his daughter, and in spite of her repeated insults and disdain, he still continues to try and rekindle their relationship and look past her disparaging attitude.
Now, when he realizes this emotional connection might not come to fruition as he's hoped, he tries to bribe her with the promise of an inheritance as a means of having any connection with her,
Right.
even one that's purely transactional. His standards have become so reduced and his love is so strong, he can satisfy himself with the notion that dangling a monetary incentive is the only way his daughter will be with him.
Yet, there are also layers running through about parental approval and how that can shape us. Charlie is willing to forgive and give the benefit of the doubt to all of Ellie's transgressions and despicable behavior. His approval is unconditional. We come to find that Thomas's parents have also forgiven him and want him to return, in spite of him stealing money and running away.
And lastly, Liz, Charlie's nurse, has also been marked by parental approval. She despises the church that her parents belong to because they cause her brother, who also happened to be Charlie's ex-lover, to become insecure about his sexual orientation and ultimately kill himself. So in that case, the parents' lack of approval have caused a chain reaction of destruction and pain. I think this, like many tough movies, will fail to garner a larger audience because most people, especially today, want pure escapism. Hence the packed line we saw when we went to the theater for Avatar. They don't want reality or an ugly mirror of truth held up to their own countenance.
Yeah.
But while hard and unsettling, it is ultimately necessary to have filmmakers like Aronofsky put characters on the big screen that are just as flawed as we are, and full of insecurities and failures.
And while some movies can feel disingenuous or forced in trying to tackle these larger societal insecurities, Aronofsky puts the entire weight of the movie on the performance of Brendan Fraser to make the film succeed. It is a large gamble to hedge his film entirely on a single performance, but Fraser's casting pays off. Without Fraser's performance, this movie would surely fall apart and burst at the seams.
But his performance is so heartfelt and brutally honest that all the larger issues the movie evokes are there and present. In his face, in his tears, in the way he moves his body, in his speech. They're all there. They tell the whole story of a man defeated by life, but trying one last go at finding solace.
Obesity, loneliness, depression, and lack of human communication is on the rise, especially here in America. And Aronofsky bundles all those sad realities into one human, Charlie, and his hopes for redemption in spite of his tragic circumstances.
Aronofsky has made this movie purposefully as anti-cinematic as possible, and he deliberately chooses everything that goes against the grain of mainstream media. He uses a protagonist that's unpleasant to look at, a singular, unattractive location, gut-wrenching interactions, a slow, evolving plot where not much happens, and also, in general, just an unpleasant subject matter. Yet it somehow mostly succeeds. Again, mostly, if not entirely, because of Fraser's performance.
Yeah, he was stunning.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, the movie, the dreariness of it, the weight of it, it would just feel a little like, okay, we don't need this heaviness.
Right. Why do we care?
Or what's the deeper meaning?
Right.
But because of the performance, it does come through.
Oh my goodness.
I need to know that I have done one thing right with my life.
It's as if Aronofsky put up as many challenges and barriers as possible so he could test himself cinematically and also test his audience in the process. In a way, The Whale becomes a provocation tasking us with not looking away at the ugly reality of many people's lives.
Yeah, I think he knows it's a challenging film, and he's pushing that as much as he can,
Right.
teetering the line of becomes almost too heavy, too
Graphic in a way.
but he controls it just enough to keep us still
Engaged
and not like, okay, I'm over it,
Right.
So This movie falls into a weird category of films for us, in that it is a film we admired, but it is not one we would be eager to rewatch anytime soon.
Right.
And as such, it is one that we would recommend only to the most adventurous and open-minded of cinema goers.
Yeah, as amazing as the performances were, and such a heartfelt story, there were some scenes that were just so uncomfortable to watch that I don't know if I'm drawn to rewatch it. And now for ratings. So what would you give The Whale?
I'd probably give the film a 6.5 out of 10, and it's all because of Brendan Fraser's performance. I think the movie Aronofsky tackles giving him so much to handle with one character. And again, it's all in his eyes. It's all in the way he moves, the way he says his lines, the way as a massively fat guy, like how he just moves and gets out of couches. I mean, he does it all very well.
Yeah.
And that constant battle he has where he acknowledges, he knows food is killing him, but he constantly keeps going back to it. It's very well done, and it's tough. It's a tough movie.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone.
I think I know. I admire that Aronofsky, again, stripped back as many elements that are usually attractive in film. You have pretty actors, you have a crazy
an amazing
location, production design.
Yeah.
And he strips all that as back as possible.
Right.
And makes
he eliminated the fluff completely.
Yeah, and it makes it as bleak as possible.
Yeah.
And I admire that. I think it's a tall order, and I think he mostly, again, because of Fraser's performance, does it very well.
Yeah.
So, how about yourself? What would you give it?
I probably rate it a little bit higher just because what contributes to Fraser's performance is the directing too. So I gotta give it to both of them. Both did an amazing job. I would probably give it a 7.5 because it's such a compelling story. And as uncomfortable as I felt, I was engaged the entire time. And at the end of it, I was really taken aback by it. Like, it really blew me away. I was not expecting to like it at all. And I really did like it. But unfortunately, oddly enough, I wouldn't rewatch it. So.
But you made a good point in that it's also not just Fraser's performance. It's Aronofsky, because Aronofsky has, I mean, he's done it in the past, especially with Mickey Rourke and the rest of getting these actors that are kind of you haven't seen in a while. They haven't done, and bringing a great earth-shattering performance where you just feel for them.
It's almost like a revival for them. They unearth this talent.
And I think in both cases, in Mickey Rourke and in this one, Brendan Fraser, it's that emotional angst of being away from the limelight, losing their star power, getting uglier and older.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And they probably use some of that to channel into those characters. Yeah. And I think Aronofsky gets them to channel that inner emotions they have from their personal life into the characters, because that makes them that much more believable. Yeah. I think the last thing that's worth mentioning is that, you go outside and whether it be at a store or whatever, you see these people or, my 600-pound life that are massively overweight in their little carts or whatever just to get by. Yeah. And these people have stories too.
Yeah, and they're heartbreaking.
These kind of people that are battling with obesity deserve a story to kind of explore what gets them to that point. When we pass these kind of morbidly obese people at a store and they're riding around their carts, we tend to just ignore it and politely look away. No. But it's as if Aronofsky asked one of those people, "Hey, what happened to you?"
Right, basically.
And I think that's brave.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more Film Snob reviews.